Hello and welcome to today's web seminar, How to Automate Web App Testing Using Open Source Frameworks, sponsored by Perfecto and featuring Eran Kinsberner, Mobile Technical Evangelist at Perfecto, and Wim Sellis, Test Automation Engineer at the Testers. I'm your host and moderator, Josiah Renaud. Thank you for joining us today. Before I hand it off to the speakers, let me explain the controls on this console. If you experience any technical issues, please send a note through the question field located beneath the panels, and we'll be on hand to help as quickly as possible. Our responses can be read in the Q&A panel to the left of the slides. There's also the same way to submit questions. We welcome all comments and inquiries during today's event, so feel free to ask as many as you'd like, and we'll answer as many as possible during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. This event contains polling questions, as well as an extended live demo. To optimize your bandwidth for the best viewing experience possible, please be sure to close out any unnecessary applications that may be running in the background. At the bottom of your console is a widget toolbar. These widgets open panels. The console opens with three on your screen: the speaker, Q&A, and the slide panels. All of these panels can be moved around and resized to your liking. If you accidentally close one, click the respective widget to reopen the panel in its original place. Hover your cursor over these icons to reveal labels identifying each widget. Through these icons, you can download the speaker slides, as well as share this event with friends and colleagues. This event is being recorded and will be made available for on-demand viewing. Once the recording is ready, you'll receive an email with instructions how to access the presentation and slides on demand. With that said, I'd like to introduce and pass controls to our first speaker, Eran.
Thank you, and hi everyone. I'm the first speaker, but I'm not alone. I'm having with me Wim Sellis, who is not just a guru in test automation, but he's also a friend, and I'm honored to have him with us in today's webinar. Today's webinar is mostly...
Everybody.
Hey, Wim. In today's webinar, what we're going to actually introduce to you is a good way and approach to leveraging open source test frameworks for testing your web applications. And we'll talk about many frameworks, but we'll drill down and focus mostly, Wim will focus mostly on leveraging Protractor for web testing, and he's prepared a very cool and extensive demo together with some very informative slides that can help you guys online if you are practicing today web test automation. I'm sure you'll find this content very, very useful. Hi Wim, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Curious about all the guys, how they're going to find it.
So what we're going to do, myself and Wim, in the webinar, we'll start with very basic landscape overview, though everything is, or most of the test frameworks are built on top of Selenium WebDriver. We are seeing a growing trend of many new test frameworks. Some of them are based on WebDriver, some of them are not. Some of them are testing headless browsers, some are testing more from the UI, some are supporting BDD and some aren't. So the web testing landscape is actually becoming very, very, I would say, complex due to the fact that there are also complex scenarios that we test automation engineers are trying to deal with. So we'll go through the web testing landscape and show a bit of how it looks today. We are going to talk a bit about the challenges which actually drive the large and growing number of test frameworks. And then we'll drill down, as promised, into Protractor, working with page object model and many other cool stuff that Wim has prepared. So let's dive in. So if you look today at the web development trends and the web in general, so what we are seeing, and Wim, keep me honest, you are strongly and actively exploring these technologies. We are seeing JavaScript as the de facto programming language for web, with some also growing number of web development frameworks. So if up until a few years ago, Angular, AngularJS, jQuery were the leading and most familiar web development frameworks, what we are seeing today actually is a growing number of web frameworks for developers, including React and Aurelia and Vue and some others that are actually becoming more and more popular due to many reasons. Some of them are the lightweight capabilities that they have, the performance, the extendability that they have, and many other considerations. Wim, do you see this trend also? What do you see from a web development framework perspective?
What we see currently also in the market in the Netherlands is that Vue is also gaining market. Won't say it's a very large framework currently, but it's gaining market also. Aurelia, not that big here in the Netherlands, but yeah, currently we have React and Angular as the biggest frameworks here that developers are using and also customers are using in the market.
And do you have any point of view why people are looking towards adopting new frameworks like Vue or Aurelia? What are they changing in today's landscape that Angular and the React are not really providing? Do you have a point of view on that?
Well, each framework has pros and cons, and if you look at React and if you look at Angular, those are frameworks that were there from 2-3 years ago. They started, and they really they should get the market. And the other frameworks, Aurelia, Vue, what they're doing is just they're copying stuff from the current frameworks like Angular and React, but also are optimizing them. Making them some specific parts smaller, that kind of stuff. So they're using each other to be better.
Got it. So people tend to say mobile landscape is fragmented and unstable. I think that we're also entering some kind of a web transformation period where we see new development frameworks popping up and growing, but as we will see in the next slide, we also see the web market testing also evolving and changing a bit. I don't know how many online are familiar with new and emerging frameworks such as Buster and Casper and Nightwatch.js, TestCafe. So as you see in the NPM trends, these new frameworks are not gaining a lot of downloads compared to Protractor and Selenium that are more adopted and more mature in the market. But obviously we see many new web testing frameworks supporting JavaScript mostly, and BDD, by the way. It's also a common thing that people are looking for kind of BDD, behavior-driven development support in these frameworks. But we see other new frameworks popping up. Some of them are based on top of Selenium WebDriver. Some, like TestCafe, are not really leveraging WebDriver, and it's mostly unique implementation for web test automation. Not in this slide, but there is also a new cool tool called Concept that is based on DSL, kind of a BDD framework or BDD language for testing, but again, I think that Selenium has become the foundation for many growing frameworks, but still, and keep me honest here, we do see that Protractor and WebDriver.io are really the most popular and most powerful frameworks in the market today. Nightwatch.js is definitely a good competitor to Protractor, but as you mentioned, for the web development frameworks, each framework has its own capabilities, limitations, and advantages. So any thing to add about this slide, Wim?
Yeah, just one small thing. What you can see here also, the blue line is from Protractor, red line is from Selenium WebDriver, and they're influencing each other. And why is that? Because I think 99% of all the test frameworks in JavaScript, they use Selenium WebDriver, so they influence the amount of downloads also from Selenium. But each framework you're seeing here is just using Selenium WebDriver as its core to interact with the browser or to interact with your mobile. Yeah, you have Appium for that, but it's kind of like the same protocol.
Totally right, and people would say, maybe it's not even fair to compare Selenium and Protractor from a download perspective because most of them are actually built one on top of the other, or most of them are actually leveraging Selenium. So, it's a good visualization here to see, how close Protractor is compared to Selenium. So the adoption is definitely huge, and this is why we decided today to definitely go over these different frameworks. But drill down into one of them, which is Protractor, as the most adopted and maybe powerful one from the list. With that slide, I just want to give a short list of challenges, at least that I'm hearing from the market, from my customers. And if you see something that is missing, Wim, feel free to jump in. But what I'm seeing is, and maybe this explains also the growing number of new frameworks added every few months to Git, is that all of these Selenium-based test frameworks, from one hand, are very strong and they can handle and interact with the web browsers, if we're talking about UI or headless browsers. But when you are trying to build a continuous testing framework that runs in a lab on real devices and desktop browsers, and you want it to run as part of your CI without any flakiness, so your build is always green, as we like to say, with the minimal effort of maintainability for these scripts. What we are seeing is that Selenium on its own, and maybe even Protractor, and you can maybe share while you are giving a demo some of the challenges that you experienced when you built today's demo. So it's still hard for organizations to take out of the box the open source frameworks and run them at scale in parallel as part of CI in a stable environment that covers all of the use cases that are required. In addition, and this is the tool stack selection comment, the customers or the practitioners are looking for frameworks which are easily pluggable, extendable to their existing tools, environment, IDEs, Slack, Jenkins, TeamCity, and all of these tools that are already in use within the organization. An additional pain or challenge is also the point about automating more. I know that, Wim, you built your own plugin repository for visual testing on top of Protractor. Maybe you can say a few words while you are giving the demo. But you needed to develop this additional capability for visual testing because it wasn't a native capability that comes with Protractor or WebDriver IO. So it's an extended capability that you added. This is just one example. You can take location mimicking, IP spoofing, and some other network environment conditions that you want to mimic that these open source frameworks are not easily supporting, causing additional headache or pain to the practitioners. With that, Wim, do you have anything to add on that slide and maybe on the previous comment on the visual thing?
Well, I think for the visuals, I've also prepared a demo to do visual testing and also to see the challenges you have when you do visual comparison with different devices, different browsers. And well, we'll try to cover it all during the demo. So yeah, we'll keep it now.
Excellent, Wim. So let me just, prior to moving to your great technical session, let's just ask the audience, we have shown them a bunch of frameworks, and let's see, what are they using today, and maybe we can understand why they're choosing these frameworks. And the poll is already in motion, and thank you guys online for participating. Wow. You're seeing what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing what you're seeing. Yeah, that's Selenium. Yeah, I think everybody uses it if you're using Java or you're using JavaScript. Kind of curious also what the other frameworks are, but yeah. So
you see that almost all of the attendees are definitely Selenium as the baseline for everything, but Protractor and I was expecting more Nightwatch and WebDriver IO. but I'm happy to see these results because this actually falls exactly on your demo of Protractor. So, and it matches the previous trends slide that we shown. So the audience are definitely adopting Protractor plus on top of Selenium as their framework of choice.
Cool.
Very, very good, very good. So thank you guys online for this poll. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Wim, to start talking about, promises.
Yeah, I'm going to start talking about promises. Well, everybody, welcome. Well, if you now look at automation and we look at the JavaScript and we compare it to the Java, we see that the Selenium WebDriver JS is a purely asynchronous API. It's based on promises. And what do we do with promises? Don't know if a lot of people have experience with them, but if we look at promises, and what is a promise? A promise is a guarantee that you will receive something in the future. Just look at the puppets below. You will see that if we're talking to each other, you say, can I have a list of users to your colleague who has it on his computer? We need to wait till he does something, well, in this case, he's still working on it. If we're looking at a promise, it can have multiple it can have a few end statuses. It can be fulfilled. That means we will get a list of users. It can be rejected. That means, there's no result, or something breaks, or pending, and pending is just the part where we need to keep waiting. And if you look at promises, I was also thinking about what's also a good example of asynchronous and promises, and I was thinking, well, if Aaron is going to buy me dinner in a restaurant, then you will see that other people also are going to order food, and we can also order food. And we don't need to wait for other people to receive their food and finish eating before we can order. So there's no synchronous order in it. We can just order our food almost all together. And that's basically something we do with the asynchronous part within JavaScript. We're doing a call to our browser. We're saying get an element or get text for it, and we just need to wait until it's resolved. So that's how we need to handle promises. If we then look at a code example, we see it here. When we have JavaScript, we can have 3 lines of code in which we are trying to log something. First line of code, we say hello. The second line of code, we should wait 2 seconds and then print goodbye. And the third line of code, we will do a console log of hello again. If we look at the asynchronous, or if we look at the synchronous part, we will get this. That means we do say hello. We do nothing for 2 seconds. We see say goodbye, and we will then see say hello again. But if we look at asynchronous, and that's the way we're using it within JavaScript, we're seeing this. We're going to print all the lines all together, but then again, we wait 2 seconds, as you also saw in the example here. We wait for 2 seconds, and we then say goodbye. That's kind of the difference we have between, for example, using Selenium and Java, and using Selenium with JavaScript. So keep that in mind if we're doing some coding. This is one of the hardest parts also to understand. If you also look at Stack Overflow, kind of active also on Stack Overflow and also on the GitHub of Protractor, you see that a lot of people still have problems with promises. Well, now we're going to dive a little bit into the code. But yeah, before I'm going to give you the demo, I'm going to tell you some background. I created a sample project. I'm going to use the Dutch railways, the NS as we call it here in the Netherlands, and we're going to do a journey planning, and I'm going to explain it later on. If we're also looking at the end-to-end test, we would like to automate the user interaction. So we're not diving into real unit test code, but we're looking at what the behavior of a customer should be on a browser. the behavior. And we can also see it as behavior-driven development. That's mostly how I'm implementing Protractor within a customer I'm working. That's the Dutch Railways. And we try to write everything in a BDD syntax with the given, when, then. You may be also familiar with the Gherkin syntax. We use Cucumber for it, and I also implemented it here. In the end, you also get a link of the demo project itself, so you can walk through it and can do some stuff with it. If you also look at the automation, you also have some different tools that can help you with the automation. Found a nice reporting tool of a guy called Web Creation, and we're also going to show it here, including also the reporting of Protractor, of Perfecto. And well, that is it. If we now dive into the demo, I'm going to start sharing my screen. And hopefully you will now see my screen. First of all, the Perfecto device screen. There are no devices up, and you will see my console. First of all, we're going to dive into a little bit of code. As said, we're looking at a journey planner from the Dutch Railways, and we created a feature file as we use them in Cucumber. And we're trying to describe some behavior, what would happen. So, for example, if Aaron plans to go to the Netherlands, as a traveler, he would like to know the fastest route between two stations, so he can get his destination as quickly as possible. So in this case, he will open a journey planner. He would like to plan a journey because he's coming through the Amsterdam airport. He wants to go to Utrecht. That's where I'm working tomorrow. So that's very nice if he's here tomorrow. And then he should see some trains departing at some time. If we now look at the journey planner itself, what is the journey planner? This is a journey planner in which we have a from station where you type in your station you're leaving from. We have a to station. It's the station we want to go to. We are going to plan it for tomorrow, so we need to change the date, we need to change the time, and we're going to do a plan. That's what we're basically going to do in the first scenario. In the second scenario, we're also going to look at the details. If we look at automating with Protractor, there's a very helpful example on the Protractor GitHub itself. It starts with basic Jasmine, and you have an example with TypeScript or an example project here in the example folder. You will find a spec file in which you find the steps you need to do and a configuration file. In your configuration file, you say what you want to use. In this case, we want to use a Chrome browser. Which framework? With Protractor, you can use Jasmine, you can use Mocha, or you can use Cucumber. A reference to your specs and some framework-specific configurations. If we look at the spec, what do we want to automate? We have Jasmine syntax here. We're describing what we want to do. And then here we have our first test execution. This is a very basic example. And I'm also going to show you a basic example compared using with the journey planner of VNS. If you now go back here again to the journey planner, I also created a configuration file here for Protractor. And on the left side of my project, you will see a local configuration file and a Perfecto configuration file. The only difference between them is that the Perfecto configuration file will go to the Perfecto cloud. And in my local configuration file, I will open it here on the left side. On my local configuration file, you will see that I'm using Chrome on my local machine. And when you're using my demo project, which link you will get, I commented everything out where you can see what is specific, what is Cucumber specific, and what are some stuff you need to combine to each other to make also the automation itself much easier. And one of the things I want to point out here is with Protractor, you can say which capabilities you want to use. In this case, we want to use Chrome. There are some options, Chrome options. In this case, we don't want to see the info bars that we are automating. we want to disable it. But we also have some custom possibilities. In this case, I created an object called the device properties, and that can be very useful during your automation. Normally, what you want to find out if you're automating on a small browser or if you want to automate on on Edge or whatsoever, sometimes you need to have some specific steps on a specific browser. With your custom capabilities, you can easily check within Protractor what are you automating on without asking the browser itself and doing an extra WebDriver call. We will dive into this later on. If we then go back to our feature file, in here we have, for example, Aaron opens the journey planner. Well, what is the code that's behind it? The code behind it can be found in a step file called the journey planner steps. If we open it, Cucumber itself will use regular expressions from the feature file and will connect it to the code it needs to execute. In this case, we say Aaron opens the journey planner, that's behavior, and the implementation of the code is it will go to the browser. We have a base URL, that's the base URL from the Dutch Railways. We add something to it, that's the journey planner path, and when it's done, we need to accept some cookies. Almost each site has cookies. We place it in a helper, that will do everything for us. Basically, the most important part of what we're doing here with the automation is the interaction with our screen, and we can find it in the second step here. This is the when. In the when, you will see the interaction with the elements. We have an element we can find by an ID, location, input, departure, and we say we want to go to a station. In our case, we want to go from a station, we want to go from Amsterdam Airport. We're going to send data to that input field. And we have the input arrival, that's the to station, and we're also going to Utrecht, so we're going to send it there. Then we need to use the date button, and the date button, if we go back to the journey planner, that's this one. We first need to click on it, we get a date picker, we select the date. Now, same here for the time, we have a time picker, we select the time, and then we do plan. That's basically the code, what we're doing here. Then we're doing some expectation. We're doing some assertion on text because we expect to see something. Well, what you see here is a really basic setup of code. If you ask yourself, well, is this really maintainable? Well, when this project is as small as this, yeah, this is maintainable. But when you have a large project, and my previous project was with a large bank, and also read in the book, this was not maintainable because there are some components. For example, if we look at the address bar here, everybody maybe needs to use it because this was built by team A, but the details is built by another team. And it's better to use page objects because page objects can help us to put the logic of a page into one file, and we can reuse it within different features and different implementations, different projects. We can share code within feature teams. It makes it a lot easier for us. Well, if we look at this and we say we want to change this to a project that's implementing page objects, I'm going to switch the branch here. I'm going to do a checkout of the branch. You can also do it at home if you have the link. And then you will see that we don't have any interaction with the elements on the page itself. We only have references to the page objects, or as I would like to say it, we have a reference to task objects because we're doing a task. In this case, our journey to plan a journey is now only a method that accepts 4 properties: the from station, the to station, and on, that's the date, and an at, and that's the time. Well,
two comments.
Really yeah.
Just 2 comments. I think that and you'll probably touch later on also more on the page object. But if you go back to the challenges slide that we had, talking about maintaining scripts, flakiness of tests. So and we see many web pages, and even the web pages that you are currently testing, right? It's probably going to change every now and then. having this method of page object model definitely allows you to have a more maintainable, robust test automation code that you can easily reuse by other people, but also execute it more, I'd say, more wisely. And my second point, we are getting a lot of questions in the background. If you want, just in a nutshell, to say the brief difference between Protractor and Selenium, people online are a bit confused between the difference. So maybe just a word about that so people will be on the same level, on the same page.
Yeah, okay. Well, in the basics, there is no difference between Selenium and between Protractor, because what Protractor is only a wrapper around the Selenium WebDriver, and it will help you easily find elements within your Angular page, but you can also use a non-Angular page. You can use a CNN page if it's not an Angular page. It will only provide you some extra methods to easily find elements and to interact with elements. And if I've also got it open here, if you go to Protractor test.org, you can find the API from Protractor, and you can find all the methods that are already available from Protractor, and they're only a wrapper around the Selenium WebDriver. For example, if you want to find an element, you can find an element, for example, by name. And the way you're going to do it, you have an example here. You will have, for example, browser.find element. You can do it by tag name. There are all different ways in which you can find elements. So yeah, there's not really a big difference between those. It's only, they're extending each other. Protractor is extending the WebDriver part. I hope that's clear for you guys.
Yeah, I think it helps. Thanks a lot, Wim. And the synchronization piece is also something that is powerful, right?
Yeah, what's really powerful about when you're automating an Angular app with Protractor is that Protractor, on each click or each event you're doing on the page, it asks Angular, are you done loading your stuff you need to do? For example, if you're typing something in an inbox and an input field, it could have an interaction with a model window or whatsoever that will be showing. Or if you're using Angular, Protractor will wait until the element is there. The only thing you need to know and you need to be aware of is some CSS interaction. If you're doing if you're slowly showing your elements, then you need to be aware that CSS interaction, so how the page is styled, that's not something Protractor will wait for that. So that's something you need to keep in mind. If we go back to the planner, because I think we also want to see it now working.
Yeah.
Let's go to Perfecto Mobile Cloud. And in this case, what I did, I created the script and I used the Perfecto Cloud for a browser, but also for mobile. That's also something we're going to show now. We're now starting everything between, and we will see within a few seconds the Apple iPhone 7 going to pop up, and within a few seconds we're also going to see the Chrome browser popping up. And what's happening here, if there is a cookie warning, it will be clicked away. If there's no cookie warning, it will just check the screen, and as you can see now, it's already filling the field. And that's also based on the code what you saw. We say go to the Amsterdam, we want to go from the Amsterdam airport, we want to go to Utrecht Central. We see it here. We have our date picker here. We select the date, should be the 28th of July. And the component itself is smart enough on the NS page that it will say the 28th, that's tomorrow. So we have the user interaction here. We can also do some validation on that. And here you see on the Chrome machine, we have the cookie part. You need to click it away. It will be done on the Chrome machine, and you see that the Apple iPhone itself is already running, and it's going for the next scenario. When this is all done, we will see more information also popping up within a few seconds on our console here. I will first go also to the project itself, because within a few seconds you will see more interaction also in our log. When we've seen our code and we look at the page objects, is also one of the questions we had. How are we going to maintain, for example, the input field? Well, we have, for example, an input text page component, and what you can do with a page component is just look at it and say, well, it has an API. You can interact with the component. You can ask, is it disabled? Give me a value of it, set a value for it, or clear the value of the component. And it doesn't matter if we're looking at the from station or the to station. It's just the way we are going to locate the component, but the way we are interacting with the component itself is always the same in this case. If we now go, we will see here that the iPhone is done and the Chrome instance is already there. It's now looking for the details and to do the assertions. In this case, if I'm going to open my console here, you will see that we executed 2 scenarios here on the iPhone. They're all green, and within a few seconds the Chrome machine will also pop up that it's good to go. And the logging should come up. We see here that both test cases are successful on Chrome browser and they were successful on Safari browser. Well, if we want to see this in our reporting, for example, we're using Jenkins or we're using Travis CI or which CI tool you're using, you can create a link to reporting, for example, of Perfecto. And if you look at this, we refresh it, we'll see today that we had a lot of tests running. And in this case, we have, for example, the iPhone, we have the interaction on it, and we have all the steps we've been executing on the phone with all the data, and you can just watch it back. But what should you see when you're just developing on your local machine? That's something that could be very handy if you have a reporting tool for that. Well, in the project I created, the demo project, it will give you console log that a report has been built, because Cucumber creates reports for you and it creates a JSON file for you. And if you then show it in the browser, you can get something like this. This will give you, when you're developing on your local machine, the possibility to see if everything goes well or if it doesn't go well. For example, here we have a virtual machine, or we have the Apple iPhone here. We open it, we can see all our scenarios, if they were successful or not. If they're not successful, you will see stack trace, you will see a screenshot, all depending how you created your project. So if you now look at this part, we've dived a little bit into the page objects. What we also have seen, and that's also a part that Aaron talked about in one of the first slides, is visual comparison. Because when you're interacting with your page, you're only clicking on elements, but you're not knowing, you don't know if the element is in the right place. If we also go back to the journey planner of DNS, it could be that the plan button here is completely at the bottom here because of some style changes. Well, sometimes you need to check them. If you want to check them and you don't have a tool called ApplyTools, for example, then there's also a nice module for this. It's called Protractor Image Comparison, and with that you have the possibility to do also something of visual comparison. I'm going to show you a scenario also for this. In this case, I'm going to switch to another branch, the TypeScript branch. I'm going to do a checkout, and we have the same planner here. And what I want to do, I just want to validate something within the pre-selected travel details. I want to have a detailed image of the details page, or for example, I want to see a screenshot of the full page on a mobile. Well, if we want to run this test on the Perfecto cloud, I'm going back to this part, do the logging again. I'm going to run it again on Perfecto, and we will see that two different test cases will be executed. The first test case that will be executed on the Apple iPhone is it will create a screenshot of the full page. So it will determine for us how long the page is. It will cut out each view. It will scroll and it will stitch it to each other to give you a cool, great screenshot. And we're going to do a different test case on the Chrome browser. On the Chrome browser, we're going to do a planning of a journey, and we want to see a specific part of a screen, a specific element, and we want to cut it out, and we can save it, and we can compare it with the image comparison module with a baseline we've created in the past that has been approved by UX people who design everything for you. So now you have a tool with Protractor which you can use to compare images and get the right feeling about what the developers or what yourself did, and if it's good, the plan button is not on the bottom instead of in the journey planner at the top. And you also see it will be opening the details here, and it will now cut some images out. I think this will take a few seconds. The Chrome machine is done here, and the iPhone is still busy because it needs to take a lot of screenshots. If we already go to the logging of the Chrome machine, we will see an extra warning here. We will see an info warning that the image has been auto-saved to a baseline. That's also something the image comparison module can do for you, because it will create, I will put it open, it will create in our case a image comparison folder, and we will have two different images here. You will find a full page screenshot. I will open it within a few seconds, and you will have a journey details. That was the test case that has been executed on the Chrome. If we open this image, you will see an image only of the details we wanted of an element within the page. This is an element. It doesn't matter if you use this on Firefox or if you use this on Internet Explorer. It will cut out the elements in the right place you need it. And if we look, for example, at the Safari screenshot, we will get a very large screenshot. And you will see, if we scroll down, that it's larger normally than you have on your mobile. You need to scroll. This is one big image without the status bar, without the toolbar at the bottom. And if you compare it to the screenshot you normally will get when you make a screenshot on a mobile, you normally see this. And what the image module will do for you is that it's able to cut out this part. It's your address bar. It will cut out the toolbar and even your status bar and create all images, stitch all images to one. Those are the tools that we used also at the bank where I previously worked, and we compared all the images on component level. So if we created an input field, for example, then we created screenshots of all the specific input fields. We could compare them, and we also asked our UX guys, is it good? If so, we created them for all the browsers. We also asked them again, will you check them? And when they approved it, the component was also ready, not only for the interaction on the component, but also how the component looked itself. If we then look back at our project, one of the core things we also see is that when you're creating your script within JavaScript, I will go back to the different branch, the page object branch, and we, for example, look at the I want to plan a journey. As mentioned in the beginning, we also use promises here. The difference with promises is that we need to resolve them. If we want to get text or if we want to set a value to a field, we need to resolve them. But if we don't know which field we are going to use or in what order, we can use a promise container, see it as an empty array. We're going to place our promise into it, and in the end, we are going to resolve all the promises. This is when you're using JavaScript. But if you're using TypeScript, I think a lot of people who now currently also using Java, they're feeling they can have a better feeling with the TypeScript way of scripting, because there's not a lot of difference. I will open it. There's an, sorry, we have it here, excuse me. We have a way here in which we're saying we have a method that's asynchronous, and we are waiting for each promise to resolve before we are going to the next one. So we're using a method here called async await, and you can use it when you're using TypeScript. So it will be easier for you to write code, to write asynchronous code when you're used to create Java, synchronous code. In this way, with the async await, we say just wait until this promise is resolved. So we have set the value from the departure station. When it's done, go to the next. And we don't need to do something with a promise container. We need to put promises in the container to resolve them all. It's all being done here in kind of a synchronous way for you. Is there a question also for you, Aaron?
No, actually there are many questions coming in the background. Let's finish the demo and then we'll drill down, because there are really a lot of questions.
Okay, cool. Well, this is basically the part of the demo itself. What we've seen here is that we've seen a basic setup of when we're using Protractor with Cucumber. We've seen a basic setup of using page objects, and we have now also seen TypeScript and also the usage of image comparison module with Protractor. So it's, within the time we have, a lot of information. But if you want to see more also about it, I will stop sharing my screen and we go back to the presentation itself. Then you can find more info about the project and also play with it yourself on the link, and the link will also be provided in the slides that you will get afterwards. And if you go to my page, you will there find the Perfecto webinar, and all steps we've done here, all the code you've seen here can be found there. Same for also the Protractor image comparison module. You can also find it here, reporting. And for some people who would like to play and with TypeScript and with Cucumber, I also added a boilerplate for you. If you want to have some more information also about me, there are the ways you can contact me. You can find me on GitHub, you can find me on Stack Overflow, and if you like to see something about myself, you can also go to my blog. I think we have some time for questions now, Aaron.
Yes, we have some time. I doubt we will touch all of the questions. Really, there are plenty of questions. I think that your previous slide answered a few of the questions, because people were actually curious to get hands on your demo project, and you already gave the reference to your Git repository. Others were asking about some Protractor API references. I think you also showed them the website on how to get started with Protractor. So these are the easy questions. A question that came up also was about the differences. It's not the differences between the frameworks, but Protractor mostly as an end-to-end testing, and then there was a question about Protractor versus, let's say, a unit testing framework for web. Based on my experience, and you have way more experience than I have, I know that there are many headless browsers frameworks like Phantom.js, JS DOM, and these kind of tools that are also open source and available, and can really execute either a unit test or target a specific part of the DOM of your website. Phantom.js is definitely a good unit test. QUnit is also another tool. What is your recommendation if you want to complement Protractor from an end-to-end testing perspective with a unit test framework? What do you recommend?
Well, what I recommend is just divide the responsibilities. Don't combine them, but divide them. For example, if you're doing unit tests, mostly what you're doing, you're developing an Angular app, you want to do unit testing of your component you've built, you can first dive into your JavaScript code. You can use Phantom.js for it, and then you can pinpoint on specific elements, specific methods that you've created in your JavaScript or your TypeScript code, and you can test it then. If you want to test something visual, the interaction on a component, then I would advise to use Protractor, because you then have a larger scale of browsers you can use to do testing on your components. For example, if we go back to the journey planner, if you want to do some testing there, that there's an interaction between the from station and the to station, you can better test this on multiple browsers, also based on risks, instead of only testing it in a Phantom.js browser, a headless browser, in which you have less user experience. You don't know how a user will see the component, and you will have a better view when you're using Protractor, or you can use WebDriver.io, whatever tool you want to use to interact with your component in a real browser.
Excellent, perfect. Thank you, Wim. Before I move to the next question, just a word about what we are seeing on the screen right now. So I was very fortunate to have Wim contribute a chapter about testing web applications using advanced functional testing and open source in my recently developed authored book, the Digital Quality Handbook. And for those of you online who are participating in this webinar, we would like to give you a free download of Wim's chapter. And I think that this is a very good overlay on top of the webinar. It provides a very good guidelines and practices of starting to work with Protractor for web testing for a large scale team. Wim is describing in his chapter how he was developing a framework that supported more than 15 teams, if I'm not mistaken. So plenty of good reading, and again, it's a very good opportunity for me to say thank you, Wim, for participating in my journey, another journey.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So let's go on to the next question, and the next question is actually, Wim, about parallel execution, parallel testing. And I think that you actually showed the ability to run Protractor using npm run across multiple platforms, right? You showed the iPhone 7, you showed Chrome browser testing. You can plug it very easily to CI tools, Jenkins and so. But one of the attendees was asking about the ability to run Protractor with TestNG for parallel execution. My question is, first of all, is it supported? And second, is it required if you already showed, that there are other easier way to do it with the existing tools?
Normally, it depends on what you have. Some people also asking if I'm now using, for example, TestNG to automate my app, and I scripted everything. Do I need to go also to Protractor? Well, don't go to Protractor because you're using an Angular app. If you use to automate with TestNG or other tools, just keep using it. The biggest advantage you have with Protractor is you don't need to implicitly wait on elements, because a lot of that waiting will be done by Protractor for you. And try to prevent also combining Java and JavaScript tools together. Just choose the tool that fits you the best. I think that's the best advice I can give on that. Don't try to use a Java runner to run Protractor, for example. Just run Protractor then itself, and not some other tool.
Very good. Makes a lot of sense, Wim. Another question is about, can we do API testing with Protractor?
Protractor itself is an end-to-end testing tool. Yes, you can, but I won't advise it to do, because nowadays Protractor is very hot, but really use it for your end-to-end testing of your web application or your hybrid application in the browser. Don't use Protractor to test services or whatsoever. Don't think that's the best way to go. There are better tools to do that, So please stick to those tools and use a tool where it's supposed to be used for.
Definitely, Wim, and without really doing any further promotion, actually in the book itself, chapter 13 just talks about the best tools to use for API testing. So Postman and SOAP UI and some other tools that are actually out there and can definitely complement. You were using the word divide instead of complement. So you can definitely do the end-to-end testing with Protractor and use tools such as I just mentioned to do API testing. I think that's the recommended practice. There is another question again, and I'll maybe advise to read a bit from your free chapter to understand it more. But a lot of questions about more differences between Selenium and Protractor. And before you address this one, Wim, I just want to say again, there is no I'd say competition or battle between Selenium and Protractor. There is no such thing. Again, Protractor leverages WebDriver, and it adds additional layer of capabilities, methods to deal with AngularJS and website, more synchronized testing, as you mentioned. But again, it's not a competition. It's more like, again, based on how you develop your website, what are your current challenges, and that's basically it. And if you look at the poll that we have done in the beginning, people are actually using both together. These are the two leading tools today for web testing, and one can probably add more, I'd say, capabilities on the other, but it's, again, complementing it rather than competing with it. Do you want to summarize this point, Wim?
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is just the core. Don't compare the tools with each other because they're using each other. And in this case, Protractor uses Selenium WebDriver. So there's no competition in this.
Excellent. And last question before we close this webinar. People are asking, we didn't touch on that framework today, but there are a few questions about where does robot framework stands in the overall ecosystem for this web testing. Are you using today robot as part of your projects?
No, I'm not using robots. I had the opportunity also to play with it, and what I see with the robot framework, it can also interact with browsers. It can interact with mobile devices. There are some plugins even to support Angular pages. If it's a tool that suits you, just pick the tool that suits you. If you're not that familiar with real scripting in JavaScript or real scripting in Java, then, for example, Robot Framework, it can help you more to have a low step in. How do you call it? Don't find the word in English, but if you really want a tool that has a low starting point, that you don't need to dive into real code, then Robot Framework could be a framework you could be using. So I'm not selling Protractor here. It's just pick the tool that suits you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Wim, for all the work, all the effort, and the great content that you delivered today. I think that we are just about to wrap this webinar. So I really hope that everyone online got a taste of the advanced capabilities that Protractor can give. You got access to Wim's repository, and you can play with his demos and plugins that he developed also for the visual analysis. As Wim demonstrated, on the Perfecto cloud that supports both mobile and desktop browsers, you can actually, because we are supporting in our cloud the standard Selenium interface, the WebDriver interface, so actually almost any web framework, web testing framework, whether it's WebDriver IO, Selenium, Protractor, Nightwatch.js, and others are out of the box supported for cross-platform, cross-browser testing for your practitioner. So with that, again, I would like to thank everyone for attending this webinar. Again, thank you, Wim. Have a great night in the Netherlands, and definitely next time when I'm visiting the Netherlands, I will use your application. I've seen that it worked fine. You tested it, so obviously it works.
Yeah, and if you want to automate it, you can see it in the repo. Just run the script and change the date.
Definitely, man, definitely. So thank you, Wim, and thank you all, everyone online, and have a great day. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
perfect. Again, thank you to the speakers, Wim and Iran, for their time. I'd like to thank Protractor for sponsoring this event. Also, a special thank you goes out to you, the audience, for spending the last hour with us. Have a great day. We hope to see you at a future event.